Welcome back to Privy, Potty friends. A quick note about this week's episode. It's a little different. I sat down with a buddy from high school, Weston, and we chatted about bathrooms and ministry and growing up. And he shared a couple stories that are pretty great about his dad and bathrooms and social situations. So you are getting ready to hear he and I's, or a portion of he and I's conversation about privies. So yeah, hope you enjoy. If you're new to the podcast, what a place to start. Privy is a podcast about bathrooms, and now sometimes I sit down with folks and we chat about bathrooms. Hope you enjoy.
Hey, dude, do your magic, man. That sounds good.
Hey, a peek behind the curtain. I have no clue if this will work. I've literally never tried to record something outside of me sitting in my bathroom and Anna sitting outside the bathroom, making fun of me. So it's a mess.
Dude, but hey, how did when you told her the idea of your podcast being based upon the restroom, the throne room, what was her reaction?
So the original idea, and this will actually be pretty funny because eventually I'm going to go for it. But the original idea was to go to actual places like restaurants and stores and, whatever places that have bathrooms, and set up shop in their bathrooms and kind of like you're doing right now. But very much more public.
That is awesome.
I did some research, and it's not illegal, but it's if you push the limit too much, it could become illegal. And then COVID also kicked in 3-4 months after, and it's okay, everywhere's shut down. Especially, dude, I don't know about over there in Montana, but we just this last weekend reopened all of our restaurants for
wow,
to go in and sit down.
Montana's a little bit ahead of the curve, but we're kind of backstepping because our governor just basically lifted the mask mandate and kind of all the regulations and stuff, but now the county has taken it upon themselves to kind of do their own thing, and Cascade County has decided to keep the mask mandate, which is funny because before it was all based upon the governor. Now it's well, we're just going to do our own thing. But what's weird is our cases are really minor and very minuscule. I mean, pretty much people who want to get vaccinated are getting vaccinated. And then I think this naturally, the COVID taking its course and stuff, a lot of people have already gotten it and so have built immunities to it. So it's our cases are under 100 per week. So I don't know why we need the mask. Maybe it's a style thing. I have no clue.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's definitely a crazy time to be alive, for sure.
Well, all the more reason, man, to run to the restroom and hunker down.
It was funny. I found a picture the other day. I sent it to my buddy, but it's a picture of some folks in London in 19 whatever. They had an big influenza thing roll through, and all the people in the streets have got masks on and stuff. It's hilarious. It's
that is so funny.
Yeah. It's a black and white picture, but it's it looks like today, but the masks aren't, leopard.
Oh my gosh.
Whatever.
What a time to be alive.
Oh, I know. It's wild. It's super crazy because they lifted the restaurant stuff the day before Valentine's Day over here. And so, every couple in the state was trying to get into a restaurant, and it was this is actually worse than if you would have just opened it back in whatever and let people slowly trickle in and out. But
yeah, that's a power move on their part that maybe would backfire. I could see, definitely.
Yeah. Sometimes I'm I want to know who's making these decisions and just see if
someone's wanting to flex some money gains on somebody. I think that's what that was.
Yeah, for sure.
Crazy.
Yeah. So are you at the church right now? Yeah.
I came into the bathroom, sat down on the throne, and then a guy came in. You know what's so funny about our church? It's like it's a decent size. So there's like 3 levels. And I used to clean the bathrooms on the side. And
Yeah.
there's 11 restrooms in this building. And somehow,
Dang.
if one person goes to a restroom upstairs where everything is off, like you try and sneak in there to drop a deuce,
Yeah.
somehow somebody's gonna walk in, and it's like, seriously, bro? Like what inside of you possessed you to want to come up here
Right.
and use the restroom at the same time as me? I don't know. I'm like, this is crazy.
Dude, yes. So, I'm at the church right now as well. And like, so I definitely got a little fear in me because I recorded one episode here, like in the bathroom, and the sound quality, it took so long to figure out. But I'm like, so our church has a bathroom inside the library. It's ridiculous. I don't understand why they have a bathroom inside the library. But like it's me posted up in this little tiny cubby bathroom at 9:45 at night. And no joke, some dude rolls in, our custodian rolls in. He didn't even know I was in there. Like, yeah, had the lights all turned off except for in the bathroom and the doors all shut, so you couldn't hear. But yeah, I just hear the front door and my phone has a little thing and it's like, hey, I'm like, are you kidding me? It's 9:45. I thought I would be fine to be yakking about whatever, but here we are. So dude, I hear you. That's crazy.
Well, and it's not even with the podcast. It's just like trying to do your business
Right. Yeah.
in peace. And it's like, man, someone's always gotta, hey, and just to give you a heads up,
Yeah.
I'm gonna express my hate and discontent for my iPhone.
Hey.
I don't know what it is, but I was convinced to jump off the Android train into the iPhone train. And I love everything about the iPhone except the battery.
Dude,
Likes to stay charged for 4 hours, and that's it.
100%. Like, I don't know if I'll show you this. I don't know if you can see it, but that battery life. Oh, actually, I can make a percentage come up. Huh. The Gen Z students have taught 61%. I've been using my phone since maybe, 7:30 this morning. It's great. What a world.
Maybe I need to jump train and do something else. You know what? I think we have a automatic fan for all the disgusting smells, I guess. I don't know. But it never shuts off. So I'm gonna hop into our game room because it's quiet.
No worries, man. And I'll be honest, like I couldn't really hear it. But this is what I'm just pumped to. Yeah, even outside of like podcasting, whatever, I'm just pumped to like see and chat with you.
Dude, I'm for sure, bro.
Yeah, I told Anna, I was like, "Oh man, Weston wants to chat," and she's like, she knew it was like because of the podcast. I was like, honestly, like even if it doesn't work or even whatever, I just get to chat with him, and that's going to be exciting. But
dude, same, man. It is mutual.
Yeah,
totally mutual, man. How has life been?
I haven't set foot in the school to do my job since September.
Wow.
Yeah, it's all kids online, and it is no good for mental health stuff, dude. And
it's crazy, and I don't know the statistics behind it, but I would go out on a limb to say that there is probably more detrimental effects due to mental health and not having that social interaction versus how many people the COVID has actually really affected unto death. Like, yeah. I'd be interested to see kind of the difference between that. And it's like, socially isolating, have we really saved more people than we've actually affected? Because there's been unfortunately, a lot of people who you never would guess had those issues, and maybe they didn't know they had it until they were forced to be by themselves.
Right.
And it's sad. It's so sad. And it's like, I don't know. Sometimes I wish, not to say like, look, I've heard the accounts with COVID and
right.
all of that. And,
right. 100%.
And there's some realness to it. And there is some, people definitely, I think, have lost their lives, but at what point, like, I want the real facts and the realness behind it. Is it as serious as they say? And
Right.
if the seriousness is directed towards especially the elderly or those with compromised immune system, let's like focus on keeping them in a healthy mental state, but keeping them in a spot where maybe they don't have to be, but allowing other people who are healthy and otherwise are willing to run that risk to continue with their lives. It's crazy.
Right. Dude, yeah, it's and this is like another I've had my first like shot of the super juice, and while I'm sitting there getting ready to get my vaccine, I'm like, hey, my mom is I shared with them like her age and situation and stuff, and she's got some respiratory stuff, and I'm like she is of the demographic that would be considered at risk, and I'm like, can she come down here and get a vaccine because she wants it,
Yeah.
and they're like, oh no, she doesn't fit the criteria, and I'm sitting here, I'm like, how do I, like, I mean, I haven't had my second, but even then they're not really talking about me being back in person until like April. And I'm like, there's young people who are younger than me, in better shape than me, that I've talked to that have had it. And then, I've heard some stories from folks at our church, because we've got a lot of like elderly people, and I've heard some stories of like, yeah, I got it, but my wife can't get it, and we're trying real hard. And I feel so conflicted, because I have had it, and I kind of had to get it because I kind of leveraged it, but it's kind of tough to navigate.
It's really weird. It's like, I guess I don't understand denying somebody the right to get it when there's such a big push to get it.
Right.
It's just weird. It's just kind of like, I don't know. It's conflicting for me, because I'm like, why such like everyone's got to have a mask, but then people want to get the vaccination based upon like the evidence that I guess the United States is presenting to us. Based on that evidence, like what you have presented would make people want to get the vaccination, but then you don't want to allow certain people to get it. I think that's kind of I don't know, just a little bit backwards, I guess. I don't know how else to say it.
No, it's definitely, there's, and the last, I think, year and a half, it's been kind of hard to sift through the information that is legit.
For sure.
It's overwhelming.
Crazy. You know what? And I guess my hope is maybe like even a year from now, if possible, kind of look back on it and be like, oh man, remember COVID? Remember all that? Now it's kind of, hopefully it'll subside and life will go back, and it'll be kind of a memory you can share with your kids. We survived the pandemic.
Oh, I know. It's so funny. I don't know. How old is Glory?
She's a year and a half.
Okay. Yeah. Cause Silas is 4, and he's like at that age where he realizes something is different. And he's
for sure.
He's like, why don't we? Cause we would go out to eat, I would say maybe once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks, and take the fam. He's like, how come we don't go eat anymore? And I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, well, we don't go out to sit in the place to eat. And I'm like, man, dude, it's, how do I explain this? I just tell him there's a sickness and leave it there.
It's weird. Like I was talking to my brother, and he's in the military, and he's coming up on retirement, but he said, ironically, like they were required to take classes in his profession where they talked about how history repeats itself.
Yeah.
And it's this kind of like, I remember going back to when we were, I think, second or third grade, and 9/11 happened, and then kind of the war, and like that was the big, kind of the big scale of turmoil for the world at that point. And I remember that, and it's like, granted, the war is kind of still happening, but it's like the pandemic is that thing for our kids coming up. Yeah. And that might be the thing that they remember. Like, when I was going into school or getting ready for preschool, I remember we couldn't go out to eat. We couldn't do these things because of the pandemic. It's just weird how history repeats itself, and one form or of another. It's interesting.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah. And that's kind of like what I was trying to get across to my buddy that I sent that picture to. I'm like, this ain't new. You know, there's been terrible sickness in the past, and we're just kind of, you know, doing it on a very global, very you know, all our information is all connected. And so like we know what's going on in Spain and Italy and all this
For
stuff
sure.
at once, where, you know, 100 years ago, you could find out, but it would take you a month to get word from over there. And by then things have changed, and
Big time.
Yeah, the internet is a wonderful thing, but it definitely, too much information is not always good.
100%. Yeah. That can definitely cause some issues.
Yeah, man. Hey, but before you tell this story, I wanted to ask you, because I was thinking about it and I was like, you know, I'm just gonna ask him. Were you present company for when produced his situation?
I wasn't there, but I heard the
Okay.
story, and I think the thing that stuck out in my mind about that the whole thing, I've told this story to a lot of people.
Yes.
It's like, you know, interesting fact, and you probably read this, and maybe I hope the statistic is accurate, but I was curious. The average person, or when they took a study of 2,500 people, somehow they got to the number that the average American or average person spends 92 days of their lifetime in the bathroom.
Yeah.
Like 92 days, like that's going to produce some amazing stories.
Oh, I know.
There's going to be some fun things happening in that time.
Yeah.
And so naturally, I think guys, maybe some gals, kind of a minority, but gals or guys tend to get on the topic of, dude, let's hear some crazy stories of what happened in the restroom. And I'm like, I got one for you. And let me just preface it by, this guy's name it starts with potato.
Yeah.
And blank name. And the reason he got that is because, man, he delivered something that was like, look, I'm not a fan of it. Before I started really, you know, understanding, hey, like I should really preface it what I watch and what I allow my eyes to filter into who I am. I was watching South Park, and they had an episode where the dude, like, it was based on bowel movements, and I think they used the measurement of like joules or something. But what's his name was trying to like set a record of how big of a turd, and I'm like, I know somebody who could have like gave him a run for their money with that.
Oh, 100%. Like yeah.
And now it's something like, hey, you should be, I think you deserve an award for that, because like that was a feat in itself, and for you to still be walking, like and then the dude that did it is like a rail. I mean, so skinny.
People do not believe me. I have told this story too to countless people, and like I'll be honest, eventually it's gonna get onto the podcast situation. I just don't know when. And I'm trying to figure out like the best way to approach doing it. But I tell people this story and I give them a physical description of this person, and they're like, oh, come on, you know, that's not. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. Like, you know, and I'm not trying to like pick apart how somebody looks. It's just a physical descriptor. He is one of the thinnest people that I know. And at least back then, you know, who knows now, or almost 10 years. That's hard to believe.
Yeah. Crazy.
Oh, also another question for you. Did you know, hey, this is not me complaining, but this is just me figuring out life and kind of adulthood on the fly. Did you know that and this is where air quotes come in, like the class president, which I think in high school is something that's mostly completely made up, but whatever. Did you know they're in charge of planning like every reunion until they die? Did you know that?
See, and that's,
Bro, I had no idea.
That's crazy. Well, there's a lot of class presidents out there failing.
Well, that's what I'm like. I'm like peeking around, watching some of like, you know, the 2011, 2010 classes. I was like, hey, you know, am I seeing any pictures, or I ain't seeing nothing, dude. There's nothing. And I'm talking to Anna. I was like, well, hey, joke's on you. Like your class, we graduated at the same time. So, where's your invite? Where's all your homies thing? And she's like, well, my school's bigger. So I'm like, yeah, I don't think you get off the hook. But dude, it's fascinating. Like I had no idea. And then somebody just out of the blue said, hey, what are y'all doing for your 5-year whatever? And I'm like, oh, I don't know. I haven't heard nothing. And they're like, well, you should be hearing from your class president. And then it's just like the record scratch, like, I'm like,
that's me.
I'm like, oh yeah. I'll probably hear from them. And then I'm sitting there like, well, I guess we're not doing a 5-year because nope. And I told Anna, I was like, yeah, I think I'm just going to send a Facebook invite for a 20-year and call it good as a joke. And she's like, you can't do that. So yeah, she's on the case about getting me going with it. But I'm excited, dude. I'm excited for whatever we do. Cause yeah, it's kind of like, you and I, and even Nathan and Pat to a degree of, and I'd say David too, somewhat. I've stayed in touch with these guys a little bit, but like, definitely not as much as you and I have, or even Josh have stayed in touch. I know Josh ain't in our class, but he was.
Yeah. He might as well should be.
But like, I'm thinking some of these peeps I haven't seen since June 2012, whatever. And I'm
for
like,
sure,
it's going to be weird. And cool. Cause yeah, I'm excited. But if you're ready to share this, I'm excited to let you, share this story.
Sweet. Well, so I'll just give kind of a backstory. My dad is a little rough around the edges, amazing soul. Love him. He, just an awesome guy, but for some reason, the whole topic of, and I wish he was in the podcast because he would probably binge your podcast episodes. But anything to do with the restroom and anything like that, it is so funny. And so when I seen your podcast and I started listening, and I'm like, man, the stories I have just from my dad, I got to share one. And so I'll go ahead and do that. And I'm just going to read it straight from the post because sometimes
Perfect.
You put a camera, a phone, anything in front of me, and I just start word vomiting and start saying things. And I'm like, that wasn't true. No, but I'm just going to read it. And then, it's hopefully everybody will get the same enjoyment out of it as I did. But
oh, yeah.
So it goes like this. While shopping years ago at Home Depot, and this is actually in Colorado, just so you have kind of a geographical point in your mind.
Yeah.
He went into the restroom. Upon entry, he was met by a man engaged in the battle of his life, dropping a log. From the sounds my dad described, poo shrapnel was flying and our dude was taking heavy fire. Man, I was like, the way he described it, I was right there in there with that guy. I was like, man, I'm rooting for you, bud. Then, when the resounding fart noises and gasp for air subsided, our dude's worst fear happened. No TP. He heard my dad washing his hands and mustered the strength to ask for a lending hand. Dad was caught in a struggle. Rookie move not to check your surroundings and make sure you have adequate TP for your bum. Come on, dude. Wasn't even COVID era. Grace was crossing my dad's mind, but so was an opportunity for a lesson every man has faced. Now, you might think, wow, that's what he did next. This is not a good person. But take it from the mindset of mid-50s, hard life, experience.
Right.
Hey, it's an opportunity for a lesson. And sometimes that's the greatest form of love, is just a lesson.
Yep.
So Grace was crossing my dad's mind, but so was an opportunity for a lesson every man has faced. Dad did both. He ripped one square from the stall's TP station next to the gentleman and gallantly proceeded with the transaction. The man replied, come on, man. My dad walked out. Legendary.
Oh, man.
I tell you what, I was like, he
that's
shared
so,
and he comes funny. Out and he's laughing, telling me. So it's like, really, I don't think it was an opportunity to help the guy out. I think he just wanted to be a jokester and thought it was funny. And the thing that crossed my mind, dude, is like, what did that guy do? Did he cup his privates and skedaddle to the next stall to do business? Or did I wonder what went through his mind.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, dude, it's So when I was talking about like the whole running out of toilet paper, the haunting stories that I like have had to engage with, and the things that I found where it's like, how did we get here? Like, you know, I was mentoring this kid, and we were in the Salem mall, and they have like this weird like tucked away bathroom, which we always went to because it's a little more private, and a lot of these kids, they like that bathroom more. And I go in, and my mentor kid kind of comes out, and he's got this like look on his face, and I'm like, bud, you okay? Like, what's are you well? And he's like, I saw something super weird in the bathroom. This is like a fifth, sixth grader trying to like explain this. I was like, forget it. I said, just hang out here. I'll go in, and I'm curious. I go in, and there's just a sock, dog. That's like somebody and no toilet paper on the thing. And somebody had obviously run out of TP and just took their sock off, a black sock, and I'm like, man. So then I'm like, the rest of the time I'm walking around the mall, I'm trying to like spot the dude that's got one sock on, and but yeah, dude, I've got so much respect for your dad doing that, because even though it's like, yeah, help a homie out, it's like he's 100% right. If you're at that point where it's that like loud, and you got that much stuff happening back door, like you gotta make sure that you have something in that stall,
That's what I'm. Yeah, but to his defense, the gentleman's defense, and I'm gonna kind of play, his advocate. In face of the old man. When I go to like a public restroom, like my senses are keen, and I'm locked in. I'm like, okay, let's check the seat. Does it look clean? All right. Did they got like the little poo gasket? All right, I'm gonna put that down.
Oh, I know.
Even though like scientifically, I don't think they do anything. They just give you kind of a peace of mind.
Yeah.
Check it. Is it clean? Yeah, it looks good. Adequate TP. All right, time to do business. When I'm at home.
Yeah.
My whole reason going to the restroom is this. I think because I'm just like chill. I'm relaxed.
Yeah.
Bless my wife's heart, but it never fails. She will use all the toilet paper, or just leave like a little bit on the roll, like not
half
enough.
A wipes worth, dude.
I'm like, seriously? And I'm like, okay, what am I supposed to do here? Luckily, I'm in the privacy of my home, but it's like, set me up for failure. And then I'll bring it up, and it's like, sorry, I just didn't think about it. I'm like, well, do you know what I had to go through? I'm like, now I gotta bum shuffle with some like craziness down the stairs to the other bathroom, because our upstairs bathroom is tiny. So like, we can only stock it so much. So it's like, I don't know. It's crazy. That's a whole other topic.
And I bet you, and hey, I might be wrong. I'll venture out to be wrong, but I bet you when you put that toilet paper on the thing, if you don't face it the right direction, you hear something about it.
Yeah. So it's like, oh, but you know what? If I bring it up to the other side, like, hey, make sure you replace the TP. Oh, I'm such a bad person. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying you're.
Yep, dude. I hear you. You're. Yeah.
Hey, you got time for one more story?
100%, dude.
So yeah. And once again, and to be honest, I think this was the same summer. So my parents are split up. So I went for the summertime down to the old man's home of residency and would hang out. But we were coming back from a trip to drop me off home for school, and we stopped at a Mall of America. And went in there and used the restroom, and it had been like, I don't know, maybe 8 hours on the road. You're kind of in that funk where you're like, you're on the verge of being crabby. You're just tired. You're kind of over it. You want it to be done. And so we're both kind of dragging tail, and we go into the bathroom. Well, there's like 3 kids in there. And when I say kids, they're probably college age. They're young adults. And we're doing our business, and there's me, a couple stalls in between, or a couple urinals in between, dad right next to him, college student, and then 2 in the bathroom. well, we're just doing our business, and all of a sudden you hear like, and then like it just echoed the laughter. And I look over and my dad's shaking his head, and I just see, I'm like, uh-oh, he ain't feeling it. So he's like, all right, back out of the situation, go wash my hands. He's washing his hands. I'm right next to him. One of the college kids comes over, and they're still like kind of him-hawing about like a fart noise. My dad washes his hands. He turns to him and takes, like the extra water on his hands and just starts like flicking water in the guy's face.
No way.
And goes, grow up. Turns around, walks out, and I look at the guy, and the guy is just like shocked. He's like, what just happened? I was like, dude, I'm sorry, long road trip. He's just frustrated. That wasn't right, but have a good day. I laughed so hard when I went out. I was like, man, I tell you what, 92 days in a bathroom, you're bound to get some awesome stories.
Oh, I know, man. And and the other like peek behind it is the day that you posted that and we started talking about, doing this. I have another guy. He's a youth pastor here in town, and he's like, hey, I got a story. I'm like, oh shoot. And so he's like, awesome. I'll email it to you. I was like, you can? I said, but I think I'm probably going to try to record it. I'm going to see how this goes. So
nice.
Yeah, this is, today's kind of been a test, so we'll see. But yeah, dude, it's been very good to talk with you.
Dude, likewise, good to catch up and man, I'm excited. I hope this, I don't know what your goals or aspirations are with the podcast, but brilliant content. At first, when I saw it, I was like, I had to stop and think. I'm like, man, this is interesting. And then I'm like, well, you do spend a lot of time in the bathroom. And then like, it's kind of like one of those topics that people really want to talk about, but they don't know if they can.
Right.
And
yeah.
So, look, you're giving a voice to people to be open, be vulnerable, express awesome stories. And yeah, I think it's brilliant, my man. Awesome.
Yeah, hey,
keep it up. I hope it gets big.
Yeah. I joked with a guy cause he's like, hey, what's your goal with this? I'm like, dude, I just like, I do janitorial up at a place in Salem, and I'm like, the stories have just built up. And
dude,
I thought about just sitting down and even just telling stories, kind of like we've been doing. But then I'm also like looking and reading stuff, and I'm like, this is fascinating. Like some of this, like, and man, it makes for my, how like, all these companies are just kind of spying on us and getting all our data. It makes the advertisements that I get on like Facebook and Instagram just fascinating. It's like,
dude,
lots of toilet seats, lots of like, I get bidet ads like all the time. And I'll be honest, probably going to buy one eventually, but
hey, right. Why not?
I'm like, well, mostly because I'm sitting here. I'm like, I mean, I've got to talk about these things, and I've only used one once. So I think I've got to get one. And
what's so interesting. And I don't know, it's just like with podcasts, they just have a way of taglining, but we kind of have taken similar paths in life. Little bit different, but I did like the janitorial service here, but specifically just restrooms for about a year at the church.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting. You kind of learn a lot about the sexes when it comes to, and I'll say this, women demand, and look, all due respect,
I know what's coming.
I don't mean this in a rude way, but
right.
Like the women here at my place of work, as far as restrooms go, like they expect like a very lavish, well-kept restroom. But 90% of the time when I would go to clean restrooms, you know which one was like ravaged the worst?
Oh, I so
the ladies
do.
were right. I'm like, ladies, what are you doing in here? I'm like, makeup on the mirror, makeup on the counters. I'm like, like TP everywhere. Just I'm like,
yeah,
I'm like, lady, how you get some pee up on the toilet seat?
That's it right there. You nailed it. Cause like this is my whole thing. And I have gone off to Anna about this. I'm like, Anna, please explain this to me. Cause like, I understand how a dude does that. I understand. It's the whole like fire hose, go. I get it. But like, I don't understand it. I'm like, how does this happen? Please explain it to me. She said, I don't know. Maybe they just didn't sit down quick enough. Right. I'm like, is that an option? Cause like, for me, it's got to be bad for me to be like at the point where I'm in the motion of sitting down to be then producing something, like,
right.
I'm locked in, like I'm sitting ready to go before it. But anyway, I agree. And same as you, like, I don't mean any disrespect. It is just like, if you're just gathering data, what you just said, as soon as you started, I was like, I know what he's going to say. Cause I've told so many people this exact thing. It's like, dudes are nasty, but like, it's not. Yeah. It's
Well, and like my thing too is like, so my conclusion, cause I always started like with our main restrooms and they were the biggest. I would start with the men's, go to the women. And then I would have 9 more restrooms to sit and think about, like, how does this happen?
right.
The thing I think of, and I bet you there's a term for it. I bet you there is an inherent fear of putting your bum on a public restroom toilet. Like, I'm sure in the woman's mind, which is a brilliant thing. The mind of a woman is amazing. So I say that to
Right. No,
hopefully kind of like soften this blow. But I think there's like a little bit of a hesitancy and like a fear to put your bum on a public restroom. So I think they hover and squat.
Oh, here we go.
And I think they just, and maybe TMI, but like, when you get married, like,
yeah,
you're around the ladies all the time, like they just pee different. Like it sounds like
yeah.
It kind of sounds like if you've been around semis when they release the air pressure in their brakes and they do like that, like that's kind of how a woman pees. Like it's like, and it's like, wow, that's different. Like I remember thinking when my wife peed for the first time and I heard it, I'm like, that's different. So I think it's just like, man, like the bioengineering, like the way God made a woman when they pee, but they choose to hover because of a fear of touching their bum against a public restroom. Is this a recipe for like, and I'm like, here's my thing. Okay. Totally respect that. I have that fear too. I don't want to do that.
Right.
Take some toilet paper and dab it up, clean it. Like, come on, someone's got to clean that mess up, girl.
Oh, dude. It's so funny. Cause like I'm teaching Silas that right now, he's 4, he pees. It gets out of hand sometimes. Like every little boy has goofed it in that area. And I'm like, okay, buddy, it's totally fine. It happens. But when it happens, you're going to get, a wad and you're just going to clean it up and throw it in there and flush it and you're good. It said I told him the goal is for nobody else to ever see your pee.
Dude, that's a good goal. I like that.
And like, and he's getting it, but like, I think maybe that's, I don't know. I'm not going to speak for it. We'll see with like Gloria and Sarah, what the communication to them is as they go, but like, it's the same goal, but like, yeah, well, I don't know. Yeah.
The other thing that crossed my mind too was like, whenever I go into a restroom and somebody fails to flush like some pee down the drain, like I always judge, and this is just me being honest, but I kind of judge them based on like, dude, you're really dehydrated.
Yes.
Like, bro, or like you kind of see a discoloration, you're like, hey, good on you, man. You've been drinking water. That's good. But like when you see that dark pee in there, I'm like, man, like I wish I could find out who did this, not to chastise them or harass them for not flushing, but just be like, dude, bottle of water, here you go.
Right.
Sip it, don't chug it. That's not good. But you want to start sipping this, man. Maybe fill it up. Try and get 8 of these a day, bro, because you're dehydrated.
It's
man.
Orange in here. Yeah.
Crazy.
Man.
Hey, and off topic, something that maybe food for thought.
Mm-hmm.
I think there is a hidden number of men who choose to pee sitting down. And I just want to say, look, I'm like 90, 10%, like 90% to 10%, 90%. pee standing up. That's what I was taught. That was like the
Right.
manly thing.
Right.
10% sometimes I sit and I pee. I just like, man,
Oh, yeah.
I'm lazy.
Yeah, dude, I
think
hear that.
there's a large percentage of men who sit down and pee 100% of the time. I think who have felt like they're stripped of their manlyhood if they share that. But there's a guy that I know and he's like, dude, I pee sitting down. I'm like, that's interesting. I'm like, why?
Yeah.
He's like, well, first of all, I'm tall. And he's like 6'3". He's like, I'm tall.
Yeah.
I don't want to make a mess. And he's like, I just think it's smart to sit down and make sure I'm containing my urine into the toilet, no mess, and I'm done. I'm like,
right.
More power to you. I wonder how many men are like that and they think that, but they just can't express it because.
Right. Yeah.
Hey, look, men face some challenges too, ladies. Like we face some things like someone finds out you're peeing sitting down, your masculinity is challenged. Like, like which there's some real.
Which is wild. Like, cause you're right, dude. I definitely do it from time to time. And everything functions the same. It's like, there's not like
that's what I'm saying. I'm like, why? Who invented that? You have to stand up and pee. Like who set that standard? I want to hear the reasoning.
Yeah.
Insane.
Wow.
Well, man, it's been good. It's been real. I feel like I could go on for hours.
Right. Same.
But I better not.
Yeah. No worries. Yeah. We'll have to do this again for sure. But oh, hey, by the way, I'm actually using that mic you sent me right now. I don't know if you can.
That's awesome.
I've got it set up at the church. I use it to make our like youth midweek video. Just because I can set it up and leave it at the desk and
dude, I love it.
Yeah. So I appreciate it. It's a good mic. I've enjoyed using it.
I don't know, like,
because I got a buddy who he's like, oh, you gotta do this, you gotta do this. I'm like, man, I said, I'm just kind of being dumb on the internet. And if it takes off, that's great. And I'll be pumped. And if it doesn't, I'm going to do my thing and keep it going.
Well, too, it's like, think of how many, like YouTube, that comes to mind. How many YouTubers just started out like, hey, I'm just doing this for fun. It's something that I'm interested in. And who knows what will happen. Now they have millions of followers and that's their career. So you never know. You never know.
Yeah. I definitely, I would get stir crazy to do something like this as a job, but and I think you like working in ministry, there's something about working with people. It's just, it's tough, but rewarding. And
I tell you what too, like working within the field of ministry, like in that calling.
Yeah.
Granted, I don't know if I'd ever, like, unless God really wanted me to step back into I guess the secular world. I hate saying like, I don't know. I don't hate saying it, but it's just the truth. Just, you learn so well how to manage your time because it's like being in the ministry, whether it's education, youth ministry, children's, adult, whatever it is, like you learn how to manage your time and manage people. And that is like lessons that you can take into any job. And I think you would literally, like any manager type position, you would absolutely kill it.
Man, it's this, and like you said, like to clean the bathrooms, you just lessons left and right of like experience and stuff that you end up doing. And it
for sure. And I tell you what, like one thing that I have learned, and I am so grateful that I have worked positions like that because, you see other people who have worked that, like and unfortunately we just had our maintenance guy. He worked here for 24 years. He passed away actually working on the job, but he was 74. He worked here 24 years and he did that quite a bit. But I never sat and actually discussed the Bible with him. I prayed with him and talked with him. But he taught me more about walking with Jesus and walking for Jesus and just living a life for him than a lot of people who have actively talked to me about the Bible, just the way he lived his life and the humility that he had. And, I think there's something to be said, whether you're cleaning toilets or you're managing a large company, like you do all things to the glory of God, no matter how big or little. I think the intent of your heart and how you do it is what matters. And you can really impact people, even if it is just cleaning a toilet.
Oh, 100%, dude. Agreed. Yeah.
So,
absolutely, man. Well, I'll let you go. I appreciate you taking time and doing this. It's been very cool.
Dude, I am honored that you had me on here, and dude, let's do it again sometime.
Absolutely. Sounds great, man.
All right, bro. Have a good day.
Yeah, you as well. Take care. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Privy. It was sure fun sitting down with Weston and catching up. As always, if you would like to leave us a rating or review, we would love that and appreciate it. 5-star option is our preferred. And if you want to shout at us, send us something, we can keep you anonymous if you would like, let us know. But email us at privycast@gmail.com, or we're on social media at Privycast. Yeah, we'd love to hear from you as we continue to grow this community. As always, we want to thank Kevin MacLeod for the use of Barroom Ballet as our intro and outro music. You can find his music on incompetech.org, and he's licensed under copyright 4.0. Thanks, Kevin. And now, as always, don't forget to flush.